Welcome to Two Cents Unfiltered, the show where we don't tiptoe around uncomfortable truths. I'm your host, Carrie, and today we're tackling one of the most dangerously misunderstood ideologies out there, communism, and why it's absolutely incompatible with the principles of Western capitalist nations. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Communism? That's Cold War stuff. Well, it should be, but somehow it keeps crawling out of the ideological grave and infecting the minds of younger generations. Today, we're going to break down exactly why communism is not just bad in theory, but a total disaster in practice, especially for free capitalist societies. Communism, the fantasy versus the reality. Let's start with the fairy tale version, the version pushed in college classrooms and on TikTok. According to the fantasy, communism is about equality for all. No more rich or poor, everyone shares everything. No corporations, no greed, just community, unity, and fairness. Sounds nice, right? But here's the truth. That's not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked. Communism, in practice, leads to authoritarian government, economic collapse, loss of individual freedoms, mass surveillance and control, widespread poverty, and even starvation. And no, this isn't just theory. We've seen it in the Soviet Union, Mao's China, North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, and the list goes on. Communism destroys incentive, kills innovation, and always ends up with a powerful elite ruling over a silenced majority. Communism, why it's a threat to Western nations. Western capitalist nations like the United States are built on individual liberty, free markets, private property, merit-based opportunity. Communism stands in direct opposition to all of that. Let's break it down. Private property, gone. Under communism, you don't own your home, your business, or even your ideas. The state does. That bakery you started from scratch, nationalized. That land your family worked for generations, seized. Free markets, eliminated. Capitalism allows you to create, to build, to profit. It's what drives innovation. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, all came from the minds of individuals in a free market. Communism kills that drive by removing reward. Individual liberty, non-existent. In a communist system, your value is only as high as your usefulness to the state. Your speech is regulated. Dissent, dangerous. Think I'm exaggerating? Ask someone who escaped from North Korea or Cuba. And here's the part most people overlook. When you destroy economic freedom, political freedom dies with it. The government becomes your provider, your employer, your landlord, and your censor. Communism. Real-world proof. It doesn't work. Let's talk history, because it's clear. Soviet Union, 70 years of failed 5-year plans, empty shelves, secret police, gulags, and over 20 million deaths. Mao's China, the Great Leap Forward led to famine and the deaths of at least 45 million people in 4 years. Venezuela, once the richest nation in South America, now a failed state, hyperinflation, food shortages, electricity blackouts, and people literally eating zoo animals to survive. In every case, it starts with promises of fairness and equality and ends with economic ruin and tyranny. But that's not real communism. Ah, yes, the favorite excuse. They just didn't do it right. That's like saying that exploding car wasn't a real fireworks show. At some point, you've got to accept that the system is flawed at the core. Communism fails because it ignores human nature. People are not robots. We work harder when we earn rewards. We innovate when we're free to think, to fail, to try again. In communism, there's no reason to go above and beyond. Why would a doctor put in extra hours if he earns the same as someone digging ditches? Why would an entrepreneur take risks if the state takes the profit? It crushes the soul of progress. Why it's creeping back in. So why, in 2025, are we still talking about this? Why is communism, or its cousin socialism, gaining traction again? 2 reasons. 1. Ignorance of history. Most young people have never studied the real failures of communism. Schools downplay its horrors or skip over them entirely. 2. Emotional manipulation. Politicians and activists use buzzwords like equity, redistribution, and universal basic income to sell the illusion of fairness. But behind the curtain, it's all about control. My final thoughts. Why Western nations must reject communism. Western capitalist nations thrive not because they're perfect, but because they value freedom, creativity, and individual rights. Communism strips those away and replaces them with government control, gray uniformity, and forced dependence. If you love free speech, the ability to own your home, to start a business, to think for yourself, then you cannot flirt with communist ideology, because once it takes root, you don't get to vote it out. That's your 2 cents unfiltered for today. We're not here to sugarcoat history. We're here to call out dangerous ideas before they infect the next generation. And let's be clear, communism isn't just a failed economic system. It's a threat to freedom itself. If you enjoyed this episode or you learned something new, give us a follow, drop a review, and share this with someone who thinks Che Guevara is just a cool t-shirt. Until next time, I'm Carrie, and this was 2 Cents Unfiltered. Stay alert, stay free.